Uh,
Hi, everybody. How are you? So we always start out, I feel like, giggling because we're like talking before and then we just continue giggling after. So episode 10 today, we're going to talk about other beings in our universe, which if you're like, what kind of beings are they talking about? What kind of beings are they talking about? Like, do you want to fill them in on really what inspired us to put this together? And then we'll catch up briefly and then we'll sort of like start to bring our guests in.
okay.
We like to slowly roll into conversations together.
Because we're in the feminine energy, right? And
Yes, yeah. It's not like this is our schedule. Hey, it's 5:04. We need to talk. We need to no, we are rolling into it. We're connecting. We're being and just having fun too. But yeah.
All right. So I get really, really excited about this topic. I feel like everything we've talked about leading up to this has been like, very much on the spiritual realm or social realm. And, at first glance, it may not seem like, aliens and UFOs are on that realm, but I believe they are. But I have to give like a pre-warning. I become like a little kid when we talk about aliens. I get excited about it. I was trying to like research, our guests. And then the truth is I just watched like a whole bunch of UFO documentaries and said, that's just full disclosure. I get very, very excited about it. I guess there'll be some non-believers watching possibly, but I am a firm believer, as is Ashley, in other life out there in our vast, vast universe. And I'm excited about it. I've always been excited about it. What are your thoughts on it, Ashley?
Well, you know that I say this all the time, but we're never in the place of really trying to convince others. We're just sort of like here to be ourselves, and they can like come and partake and like listen or not. But I feel like this is really for like the curious ones, the people that are like binging on Ancient Aliens and they're just like, but they haven't had like their own experiences, and they're like, they like you, like they can't get enough. And so, layman's terms, aliens, but for all of the people that I know that channel quote unquote aliens, they actually don't like being called aliens because it's kind of rude, if you really think about it. It's basically from the perspective that like we own the universe, very, American of us. And so we'll see if like our other guests, like River's going to be our first guest. I think that they have other perspectives, but multidimensional beings is really the term that has been brought through most often as like the preferred term. It's more respectful term. Or I've heard other people say light beings, but we're really all light beings. I mean, I guess we're really all multidimensional beings because we're the aliens to them. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So I see how that term could be rude. Like,
yeah.
If it and when we have full disclosure, because I'll get like real excited about that. I personally believe that full disclosure is going to be in our lifetime. Super excited about that. I especially believe with everything going on, it's a perfect time to really have that awakening that we're not alone in the universe. I personally believe that the aliens, sorry aliens, but I believe that otherworldly beings like had to do a lot with our creation. And, I'm very much, those of you familiar with the Anunnaki theory, I'm very, very passionate about the Anunnaki theory. Anunnaki, just for those of you that don't know or need a reminder, it means those from heaven who came to earth or from the sky. And it's an ancient Sumerian belief that the Anunnaki, those who came from the sky, actually created us, and that we were created by aliens. And some people that are really, stuck and glued to their religion aren't going to believe in that. But I believe in that. I think it actually makes more sense.
Yeah. Like the Rh negative blood, which you and I have talked about a number of different times. And I am Rh negative, which obviously all adds up because when we like go on long car trips to Sedona, well, really, when we even have 10-minute conversations at home, we go very deep. And so we go into all of like sort of these kind of different belief systems. There's some times where I cross the line with my husband on these belief systems where I go like a little too far, and I could tell by his look that it's like a little too much for him, like where he feels like, so you feel like you're like an alien hybrid or from a different like from an alien, right? Like, and I'm like, yeah, like I connected to the Arcturians, like I came here, like there's this resonance, and I just know. And he's like, okay, that's like a little too much.
And for those of you that don't know Bob is like the coolest guy and like so kickback and like in a band and also very, very smart. But like Ashley does get really weird. That's why we're best friends. And I like how you try to slide in the RH negative thing real like cool. You know you're kind of cocky about it. You're like, yeah,
No,
we talked about it. I just so happen to be RH negative. You love that.
Like these are the signs of it. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, isn't there some belief? Like, you saw something about these like tall as fuck aliens that you thought you were connected with, right?
Oh, I might be, but you definitely are. I see how we roll on this show. You are definitely alien. I'm supposed alien, huh?
Well, you haven't felt like you've had your conviction yet. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like we've really had all these different lifetimes in different experiences. And I do think that most of them have not been on Earth, especially with like the healers and the light workers. I feel like many of them have been many different places. So I'm thinking though that there's something coming. I feel like I am feeling it like in the coming year, 6 months to a year, because I already see things coming out that are being hidden in plain sight that are just like not front page news. Like, I mean, hello, like Space Force and like, oh yeah, no, it's a UFO task force, but it's like, no, it's like for other countries that, you know, they have things that are unidentified that we're going to call them that. And I'm just like, okay, there's all of these little things that are sort of being put out there in plain sight, but they're not making front page news. So I think in some ways it's being spoon fed, and like, I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I like the way that they slipped it in there, those videos like confirming UFOs. They just kind of just slipped it in there in the middle of chaos. Like, oh, by the way, proof of other earthly, phenomenon, but I'm just going to slide it in there. And they did release the Pentagon's actually putting together a new task force. My biggest kick right now, before we get to our guests, who I know like have like really vivid experiences, that I'm probably gonna be really quiet because I'm excited to hear about it, but is because I'm a Long Beachian, is that there is this area in between Catalina, Long Beach, and Los Angeles that is like a hotbed of UFO activity. And my big thing that I'm really researching and really fascinated by is USOs, unidentified submerged objects. And they believe that there's UFOs that like have their base under the sea. And really think about it. I know this may sound trippy to some people, but like the sea is so unknown and there's depths we've never been touched. And they believe that they like shoot out from the sea in between Long Beach, Catalina, and Los Angeles and return to space from there. And I'm like fascinated by it. I know that sounds like a Cocoa Puffs from like people that really haven't really dived into this, but I am like fascinated by it right now.
Well, I think there's so much about like interdimensional travel that like we probably just can't even wrap our brains around at this point, but I want to try to as much as possible. And I totally forgot about a conversation that I had today talking about like, yeah, aliens and UFOs is our topic today. And he said, my dad, did you know my dad was in like the Air Force? And I'm like, no. And he's like, so there was like a chest in our basement, and inside that chest was like all of this paperwork, and some of it like was all blacked out, but I saw that it was talking about unidentified like flying objects and basically reports of things that were in the air. And then there was like all of it being blacked out. And he's like, I was like a little kid, so I like shut the case like so fast, and I like just like didn't even want to think about it. And I mean, in reality, we're all that little kid. And I think that when things like this are introduced to people, I would really be curious. If you have a lot of resistance to topics like this or things like this, where you're just like, you don't even want to look at it, I think that a lot of it is because it really challenges like the entire foundation of our belief system and the world as we know it. And I get that can really like shake you to the core and be scary as fuck. But at the same time, it's like, I definitely feel like for the most part, if anyone wanted to come to us with ill intentions, for the most part, it probably would have already happened. And I think they're more scared of us being crazy because we're kind of destroying each other. That's why a lot of times they'll come through channeling and through other sources, because like I've heard it said, like, why would we want to land in a war zone? And I'm like, amazing point. Why would they?
and if you're watching live with us now, feel free to like throw in your own thoughts, your own experiences, and Solange will possibly throw them up there. We can discuss them. But I want to say, like, why it's so weird that we have that belief system to begin with. That like, oh no, we're the only ones. Like, it's so weird and egotistical, and I think a lot of it's just fear generated. That
Totally.
you know. That like, oh my gosh, if something else is out there, they can attack us at any time. They could be watching us. But I think it makes so much more sense. Like, we know now that the universe is endless. We know there's galaxy upon galaxy upon galaxy. Like, how on earth is anyone even thinking that we're the only ones out there? But I think it's interesting, like the way that thought process came about. And how we're taught, like, no, there's nothing else out there. And you're crazy if you think you saw a UFO, and you're like really super high if like you believe in aliens and aliens visiting us. Like, that's such an egotistical mindset.
Well, we used to think the earth was flat. And so let's like remember that time in history.
Baby girl, people
we're kind of there.
still do think the earth is flat. Like,
should that be our next episode? Should we interview people and just be like,
no, because no.
Okay.
we should not get into that, because I might have to get drunk for that.
No, we can't have that.
Exactly.
Right. So we're going to bring in River. We do have 3 different amazing guests tonight sharing their personal experiences, and they each have their own different stories. Terry, who's going to be our last guest as well, has also been like a consultant for NASA, teaching them how to communicate with aliens or other life forms, with multidimensional beings. And so I'm just really excited because I actually haven't heard these stories. But as you guys are watching, if you have experiences, if you have questions, like, this roundtable is meant to be an interactive conversation. Because see, we could just go like this, like Christy. Oh, thank you, Christy. Thank you.
She's so fucking fierce looking in that photo.
I really added you, Christy, because you had pink hair, and I was like, oh, I love her because she has pink hair and rainbow colorful things, and I kind of just add people that seem fun. So thank you, Christy. So I'm going to bring in River. James is just laughing at me. Hi, River.
Hello.
Hi there, darling. Welcome to the roundtable.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Super stoked.
So I feel like there's a few things that I would love for you to share today, because I know that you have experienced like a pretty close kind of like encounter with like a UFO, and you've shared the story, I know, live on the radio before. And I feel like you also go to see Bashar, which I feel like I've tried to show James, like Daryl, who channels Bashar, and it was a little too much for him. And he's like, I can't, but I love Bashar. So I would love for you to like just kind of infuse any like knowledge or things like that. So tell us about your experience of when you saw a UFO or whatever they called it, because I feel like you probably can channel them as well.
Thank you. Yeah, so one of the biggest sightings I've seen multiple sightings, different periods of time, a lot of times by myself, either in the backyard or out in nature, camping. But I really wanted to share this really huge sighting that me and 2 friends experienced together. And this was last year in August. And this was in remote Arizona. It's about an hour and a half northwest of Sedona area.
Is it called remote? Is that the name of the city? Remote?
No.
Okay.
Just
I was like, wow, that's very specific.
It's just kind of in the middle of nowhere. I mean, like, with a town that has less than like 200 to 300 people. So it's like really, really remote. And one of these two friends has land out there. She just got raw land and has intentions to create a landing zone for craft to land. And she has a lot of other plans for pretty much creating a certain kind of, in a sense, a portal to where you line up crystals in a certain way, and you can actually, when set up in different places in the world, you can teleport from place to place. So if that's not out there, I don't know what is. But it's possible.
We're here for it. We're here for all of it.
And so lots of amazing plans for this land and co-creation. And so me and these two sisters were connected through the Bashar team. And so we all work together often and volunteer at events. And by the way, just disclaimer, I'm not associated with the official Bashar communications. We're just volunteers. So just saying that. But and so
get into it, girl. Get into it.
we were camping, and again, it's raw land. There's no electricity. There's nothing, and we set up the fire pit and spent the whole day just really grounding. Lots of physical labor, physical work, and that's it. And so that night we were sitting around the fire and we were talking about, aliens, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, and all of this good stuff. And I felt an urge in my body to look up behind me and to my left. And on the horizon, you could start to see a line. And I'm not I don't even know, literally it just was a straight line. You could take a ruler and see how straight it was. And it was a line of light ships. And they look like orbs, but more, like this, oval. And so at first I was just watching and I was like, guys, look. And so I pointed and we watched as this whole line from the horizon start to go higher and higher into the sky. And there were more. It just kept going for minutes. We were watching this entire line of literally thousands of ships go across the horizon. It literally, the whole thing lasted for probably 5 to 10 minutes of just watching them cross the sky. And you couldn't count how many there were. There was no way that you could be 1, 2, 3, 4. No. Literally endless just stream of light. But you could also see the individual craft. So it was really, really amazing. And one of the women, she said that she could see motherships in the back.
Oh,
and
shit.
I know. And I'm like, damn, somebody's got a meeting or something, because holy shit, I've never seen that many ships all at once. And it was just the perfect time and place and synchronicity. There's no light pollution, there's nothing, just vast open sky and not a cloud in sight. And it was phenomenal. And as it was happening, we could feel the energy of it coursing, the massive chills all over the body, and just whoo. And I felt there were connections with Pleiadians. That one was really evident to me because I've seen Pleiadian ships multiple times. That's often who I interact with.
Yeah.
And so Pleiadian and Sirius, or Syrian energy. And then I'm also thinking it was Arcturus, because of the kind of, or Arcturus or Andromeda. But Andromedan. But lots of Pleiadian and Syrian, that came very strongly, and the three of us agreed on those two.
Yeah,
it was really powerful.
So I love that you described the feeling that you're feeling, because that's exactly what I was going to ask you. But I feel like I this is why I get kicked out of hanging out with spiritual groups. I feel like I would run around like a little kid, probably poop my pants out of excitement, pass out for a little bit, wake back up, run in circles again. But anyways, like it was like a very connective moment. Did you feel peace? Were you scared at all?
We were all like, woo! Like literally, because we're all so into this whole realm. Like it is the reality that in which we live, like constantly. And so it's like we were just like, woo! Amazing! Spectacular. We were running around, you know, energized and singing, woo! So yeah, for sure. We were all really celebratory and oh my God. It's just, yeah, it was really, really amazing.
I'm wondering, because I don't know if you've seen it on Gaia, but like Daryl Anka put a, I guess like his documentary, his story, like on Gaia recently. He like made a movie, and he talked about how there was these specific moments of these ships like appearing as if they really wanted him to see it, like kind of really kind of prepping him for the experience, to really kind of work alongside them, and I guess also kind of spoon feeding, like, okay, be ready, you're going to be channeling one of us soon. But I guess I'm wondering if you feel that kind of connection, or any kinds of confirmations from you having that experience.
Like connections in the sense of agreements to channel beings. Is that what you mean? Or
yeah, to channel, to I don't know, like anything that you feel like, oh, you know, I was meant to see it because of this work that I feel like I'm going to do. And maybe we won't even connect to why that was for a long time, but does anything like that like connect for you?
Yeah, I mean, every time I have seen a ship, or even just like you can have telepathic communication just wherever you are. And that's a form of contact too. Every time I have seen a physical ship, it's been like the perfect moment to like I have experienced like calling in a ship and then having a ship showing. And anybody can do that. Is just, you know, the invitation, sending out the invitation, and being in a state of receptivity, openness, and also knowing that if they're in the area and if it's in their flow, they will, you know? So it's a very natural thing. I've had a really, really close encounter. Well, I've had many, but one of them that I want to share is that I was camping alone in the mountains, just in the middle of the forest. Nobody was around. And I knew that I had to be somewhere really remote. And so I did. And I just slept in my car. And it was a meteor shower that night. So I opened up the sunroof, was looking at the stars, trying to watch for the meteors. And a ship, a Pleiadian light ship, scout ship, you know, they're oval, they're just bright white, and they're actually in a higher dimensional frequency, which is why they're so bright. And it came literally into the forest, and it was probably 2, maybe 3 football fields away from me. And it was really slow greeting.
Wow.
And I was the only one in that entire area. And it just felt so amazing and just like so heart opening. And then I decided to astral project onto the ship, and I did. And I saw one of my Pleiadian selves that I'm really connected to in this life. Or people say like future life, but really we're all simultaneously existing right now in different frequencies. So
I think I've been understanding that differently as well, that it's really like we have a certain concept of time that like one thing's so I definitely see I love that. James, what were you going to ask her?
I just want to real quick ask her, like, since you have had the privilege or the knowledge or the patience or the frequency to really tap into connection with these other beings, what is the reason you've come to know why they don't make further disclosure with us? Is it because we're too aggressive? Is it because we're not ready? Is it because we're not all being awoken enough to really handle it or be embracive of it?
That's a great question. Well, a large thing that we're starting to see shifts in, as you guys were mentioning before regarding the government, is that there's been a lot of secrecy about UFO disclosure and things like that. Like a lot of the contacts that have already happened, like Roswell and things like that. And so really having and aligning with the frequency of the version of Earth in which there is full disclosure coming from us as humans in our government, like now. So that will expedite the process of them landing, and it will happen in this life for sure. And that's one of the things that, that's one of the things that Bashar has confirmed for people that are in alignment with that version of Earth. And what that means is that you desire to be a part of it, and you're making choices in alignment for yourself that are, positive for yourself and for everybody. And so that's one of the things is like, I think it starts on a personal level, being willing to be open about your own ideas about reality and openness to extraterrestrials, and talking with people and sharing your experiences and being an open vessel for that kind of communication. And I think that that's a really positive energy to spread out into the collective, and an invitation for them, whether or not they choose to do anything with that doesn't matter, because we're all going to be shifting to our own version of the collective Earth. So, I don't know, honesty, transparency, and all the war energy. Don't focus on that. Keep your vibration on, you're living in a peaceful Earth, and act from that state, and you will therefore manifest that version of Earth for yourself and that version of the collective. So,
God, River's like a version of cool I really want to be. I'm just going to really just try to meditate and get to the frequency of River now. River, that's it. That's it. I'm going to try to channel River. So I'm sorry. I'm going to be trying to channel you. But thank you for sharing.
You are a river of consciousness as well. That's where the name comes from.
That's got a damn tagline already. Damn it. Thank you so much. I love everything you just shared. I'm gonna have to rewatch this just to re-listen to all that wisdom you just bam, mic dropped on us. So,
thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you, River. I'll see you soon. We're gonna pop Ashley in. Bye, River.
Bye, River. Thank you so much.
So I'm gonna pull Ashley into the stream because I think she has some similar experiences. But hi, how are you?
Hello. How are you, darling?
I'm so excited to be here. I love everything you're talking about.
I love how he greets you he knows you already, and as if he's met you before. But that's I love that about you, honestly.
I feel like I do know Ashley already. I'm trying to get to know River. I'm trying to get on the frequency. Ashley, I'm trying to get into your frequency too. I can tell I already love you, so don't be jealous. All right.
We know each other on a soul level.
Yeah, she gets it. So welcome, my dear.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
So tell me about your experiences, because I know we've just briefly heard about them, that you used to see ships as well all the time. You were saying something about sleep paralysis, and I'm curious about that connection for you. So what would you be willing to share with us, Ashley?
Yes, definitely. So I heard you talking about the RH negative thing, which is true for me as well. I've had to get that. I have 3 children now, so I've had to get that shot every time. I think only one of my children has RH negative blood too. So there is a connection there. I know that I've done a little bit of research on sleep paralysis too, and people who experience that have more of a likelihood of having these paranormal or extraterrestrial experiences too. And if you don't know what sleep paralysis is, it's when you are you're conscious but your body is paralyzed. And so it feels like the most terrifying thing that you have ever experienced. I started experiencing sleep paralysis when I was about, I think, 14 or 15 years old. And you also sometimes have like, you have like auditory experiences. So like I could hear like a deep, dark, kind of like evil, menacing like voice, like yelling at me. And I was conscious and I was fully like awake, but I couldn't move my body. I still don't know like what like the total like connection is, other than it's just for some reason people experience that, and they also have a higher likelihood of experiencing paranormal experiences. But that really happened. That's happened to me, I think, up until like my 30s. I'm 33 now. I haven't experienced as much lately. So that's something else, just as a connection. But as far as like extraterrestrials, I remember first when I was I think the first thing that happened when I was about 15, so it was about when I started experiencing the sleep paralysis. I went outside of my grandmother's. I looked out the back door. She had the sliding glass door, and I looked out the back door, and there was a tree line before the next row of houses, and right above the tree line, I saw this huge just a ship with lights around the edges, just hovering above the tree line. I don't know that I'd ever thought of aliens or thought of extraterrestrials or anything up until that point, but it was I was just mesmerized by it. And I didn't really feel afraid. There was nothing that felt really scary about it. It just was like, what am I looking at right now? Like, what is this? I remember I didn't want to leave. I wanted to go tell my mom. Like I was like wanted somebody else to see what I was seeing, but I didn't want to leave because I was so scared if I leave, then it's going to go away. I'm not going to see it again. And that's pretty much what happened. I went to go tell my mom, and I came back and it wasn't there anymore.
Well, I'm curious, what did your mom say? Because I think that with a lot of experiences, with seeing, past loved ones or angels, anything that might be in the metaphysical or supernatural spaces, sometimes our parents are like, no, honey, that was probably a plane. Like, well, I'm just curious, what did she say?
Yeah. That was pretty much her response. Like, I don't know that she believed me in the moment. But the thing is too, is she's told me, and she's passed now, but she has told me about experiences that she had. She told me, like, in my grandmother's neighborhood, because they'd lived there like her entire childhood. There was one day when a bunch of kids were outside playing in the street, and there was a neighbor woman who was in the street as well, and they saw something in the sky, and I believe she said my mom. I'm not totally sure because I never got the chance to really have a conversation, but she had said there was even like a newspaper article around it because enough people had actually seen it. But she did kind of like in the moment, she kind of was like, well, maybe it was there, maybe it wasn't. She didn't really, she wasn't really like too excited about it, but she also was like really open to that stuff. I think it was, she was open to it. It definitely could have been.
Can I ask you both real quick, just for people that aren't familiar with it? I know that Ashley, you educated me on it about a couple years ago, the Rh negative blood. So people understand what's so unique about Rh negative blood and why there's this connection to it. Do either one of you want to educate anyone on it real quick?
What I know from my understanding is just that there's something, when we're pregnant, we have to take a shot or our body will attack the baby. So the body treats the baby, if the baby has a different blood type than we do, then it treats the baby as a foreign object, or some kind of foreign mass within the body, and then it can attack the baby and potentially really harm or kill the baby. I know that, I had another thought on that. You can add to that, Ashley, if you want to, but I had another.
Yeah, I think I saw that there's a specific town. I don't know if it's in Europe, but it's like,
Yes.
and like everybody has like Rh negative blood there. And there's like this very specific dialect that only people there spoke. And I want to say it's a very small percentage of people, but I guess in nature, like that shouldn't be occurring, that there should never be a reason for that to be occurring where our body would think that our own baby was a foreign object. And so I guess it's a very interesting anomaly where there's theories that our DNA has been kind of altered or kind of, upgraded from other
Or that we
life
were
forms.
somehow implanted, like those humans or whatever were somehow came from a different place.
So,
And that's exactly what I was going to say.
in more like tabloid
Yeah.
sense, the way I've read it a lot is it's linked to alien blood or star seeds, or that's what it's been linked to, just to make it clear for everyone that has it. Because Ashley educated me about this a couple of years. I think it's fucking fascinating. So I just wanted everyone to know about that because it's such a cool thing. Sorry to interrupt the flow you were in.
No, that's great. That's great. So the other experience that I had was, and I believe it's hard for me to remember my teenage years, but I think this happened after I saw the ship, because I feel like the ship was like the first thing that I was like, whoa, what the heck is that? Another experience that happened was I was sleeping in bed, and I remember like waking up, and there was just this immense like bright white light coming in through the window. And I wasn't in bed. I was on some kind of like board. I was like, the board was slanted against the bed, and I was on the board. And there were two beings in the room with me. There was one at the bottom near my feet, and I could actually see, it felt like a female presence. And then there was another one doing something up by my head. From what I understand and what I've done and researched about extraterrestrials, they were probably grays. I know there's like 3 different kinds of grays. I think it was like the medium, like average height ones. And I was terrified, right? Like I was freaking out. And because logically, what's happening to me. I mean, I just remember it was like sleep paralysis, because I was awake, but I couldn't communicate, and I felt terrified, but nothing would come from my mouth, and I couldn't move my body. And I remember hearing the one that was down by my feet. She was saying, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Nothing's wrong. So she was really trying to like calm me down. And I just remember that they were doing something near my head. I've done like my own like spiritual like channeling work, or just trying to do like my own spiritual work to try to figure out like what it meant and putting all the pieces together. And from what I understand and what I uncovered, is there something about like an upgrade, I guess, like maybe they were doing some kind of upgrade on me in order to get me ready for whatever the next phase was, and that I was supposed to I guess help to bridge the gap between when they do come, and help humans be more welcoming towards extraterrestrials when that time comes on our planet. Now, I just want to say, I don't know, because that's all very like out there, and nothing in my business has anything to do with extraterrestrial work. But it's really cool to me. It's really fascinating.
So real quick, I don't know if you've heard of this theory, Ashley, that Ashley R. That the grays actually, the theory is they cannot reproduce. And the grays, that's why they have so much interaction with us. That's why they, there's been so many abductions. That's why people often feel like they're on boards or being examined, because the grays don't know how to reproduce, or they use us, they harvest us to reproduce. So that theory floats out a lot in the research I've done, is that specific being doesn't have the ability to reproduce on their own.
Yeah, and there's a lot of talk of like they call them like hybridization programs. So and I don't know if the grays are a part of that or whatever. So it could be, again, I don't know, because it's all very hard to rationalize and be logical about but through my spiritual work, it's possible that maybe I have a hybrid child, and maybe that was part of what was happening that day. I don't know, but it's just all like so fascinating.
Now that I almost forgot about this, but I remember there was some kind of Facebook post from a friend of ours, Sandy, that triggered a memory that I had a dream of like boarding a craft. But then I started to think, I was like, why do I remember a dream? I was like, I tend to forget dreams. I was like, why do I remember this specific dream so vividly? Because I remember like seeing it, and it was just like, it was so big. And it was boarding it, and it didn't actually seem like, it just seemed very normal to be going onto it. And there was like all these places to rest. Like I remember kind of boarding this place, and I was like just kind of laying down. I almost feel like it might have been from things that I've heard more recently, like a healing ship, like that. I feel like there's times where we go in our, you know, we all astral travel when we dream, that I do feel like it was a place that I was going for healing. But I never connected that it actually might be that kind of experience until I started to question why I remembered it so vividly. And I totally forgot about that until I just heard, but I've never had anything that intense.
That's awesome. And that's like the first thing people will say to me, well, you sure you weren't dreaming? Like, that's what my husband says to me, or what my family will say to me. And I'm like, you know, first of all, dreams are part of a different reality. That's what I believe anyway. But second of all, like, you know, when you're dreaming, like, you know, when you're dreaming or when you're experiencing something real. And I've never had a dream where I'm in the room that I fell asleep in. You know what I mean? Like I've never experienced that. It was very real, and it was right in my bedroom. Like, it was happening right there, and it felt completely real.
So it was real, girl. It was real.
Yeah,
that's right. Yes, it was.
Oh my gosh. I am so glad that I got to learn this about you, because I don't know if we wouldn't have had this episode that you and I would have ever like talked about these things. Who knows? But
I'm so glad I got to talk about it, because all I get to talk about is like business stuff, and it's so fun to just talk about the weird stuff, you know?
I'm all for it.
Yeah, I love that you're open for it, and I hope you'll come back and talk about more weird shit at the round table. That's what we're here for.
Anytime.
So thank you so much.
Anytime.
That's awesome story, and it's true story, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Thanks, Ashley. Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
Thank you,
I'll
love.
See you next week. Bye. Oh my gosh, I didn't even know that she had an experience like that of like being like, I'm just like, whoa, like I got so excited for that. So we are going to bring in Terry next, who I feel like it was perfect timing for me to randomly join this like podcast group on Facebook. And there's like all these like, you know, people being like, oh, I'm looking for like motivational people. And I'm just like, I'm looking for people that
aliens.
Yeah.
I'm looking for aliens, witches, astral projectors. I need to know how to use this pendulum.
I'm like, what?
Good. I want
to bring in Terry. I want to bring in Terry because I want to honor her time. But what do you want to say?
I want to throw up a couple of facts that I really want Terry to get her input on, because I know I'm just going to get fascinated. So real quick, what everyone was talking about in the research I've done, the things I've learned, UFOs have been known to be attracted to energy, either man-made or coming from our planet. They've been known to be around fault lines. They've been known to be around military bases, power plants. That's their main point of attraction. California sees a lot of them around the fault line. They're constantly around military bases, around nuclear weapons. So I just want to bring that up real quick, because I do want to hear Terry's. I know she's going to have some expertise on it, so I wanted to throw that out there real quick. And spiritual people that project or are tapped into their energy, it would make a lot more sense for them to be drawn to that nature. So I just want to throw that out there, and I'm so excited for Terry. So thank you.
Yes, let's pull Terry in. Hi, Terry. Oh, I have you muted. Hi.
Hey, I'm traveling, so I'm going kind of natural. So I apologize for that. But you guys were making me, thank you. I was like hysterically laughing. James, you are so funny. You say some of the crap that I say. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is like super hysterical.
Thank you for embracing me.
I do. So yes, Ashley, thanks. I don't talk about this topic that much, because unless somebody opens up to it, or it's face to face, because I teach intuitive development. I've been on TV, radio, and all these other type of platforms, because I'm highlighting there are alternative ways to heal from your past. So as an intuitive energy healer, psychic medium, and alien watcher, but that's kind of way over there. And yes, we kind of talk about and use that word. But what I've experienced after I was starting to learn intuitive development and tap into this energy, I started having these magical moments where people would gravitate toward me. And I ended up meeting these two ladies in an event. And we, over time, decided we're going to create a new modality, brand new. So I'm always open to anything as long as it feels good. And it feels good, I'm like, okay, I'll go back for more. So this one gal believes and truly feels that she is an Assyrian in a human form. So I'm like, okay, let's check that out. So every week I'd go to her home with many people, and she would channel. All of the messages were about the health of the planet. So I decided I'm going to play. So I had notes. Okay, tell me 6 months from now. What's the weather? Tell me 3 months. Tell me spot on every time. Spot on. So I'm like, okay, there's something magical about this. And as we started developing this relationship, these 3 women, include me as included, because I specialize in healing the physical body, energetically and physically, that I can remote scan bodies, I can see bodies, I can see environmental and physical and spiritual physical blocks in the body. And so I was the one who could see it all. And then the Syrian gal would bring in the green, blue, healing Syrian energy. And then the third one was like the teacher who wrote the program, the outline. So she would tell us what to do. So we decided we're going to start with animals. And one of the animals was my cat. And it was a kitten at the time. I told my daughters if they took an animal communication class, they can have these kittens, because I wanted them to go deeper into connecting to their little babies. So as I started realizing when we adopted this baby, it had neurological, it couldn't see, but my daughter was crying and wanted this cat. So the longer we kept it, we were seeing it go downhill very quickly. But because I started creating this other form of healing modality, I said, we're going to heal the cat, and then we healed a horse, and then we healed some other animal, and then we healed a woman with schizophrenia, and then we healed another woman who had some female issues. But that was just, we were grabbing people or beings, and we were healing them. We still have the cat. It can see. It's not having neurological orders or disorders. And the vet said this is a miracle cat. But what ended up happening is, because I'm clairvoyant, clairaudient, and clairsentient, I was already super advanced with these ladies just starting, except for the Syrian girl was doing something different, that I kind of was the one saying, this is what I'm seeing. And I said, I'm not a doctor, but so it's like on the job training. So with the schizophrenic woman, I was able to see where her brain was not triggering. And I said, I don't understand. So the Syrian girl would say, this is why you're seeing it. This is what it's all about. Again, on the job training. And then it truly helps me now as I do hands-on healing, because I clearly understand now what I was seeing, what was going on, and then what I do today. So we ended up disbanding, and now I teach intuitive development. So I had to start with that story, because over time, because I separated, or we all went our separate ways, I really wasn't getting that continuous hit from them, the energy, what I call the energy hit. And then as I started teaching, I started realizing the difference between non-physical beings may have been a person who died, family, friends, that feeling, and then a feeling of our friends from outer space. And so I can explain the difference. So when you have like your grandmother, when she transitions and leaves, that the energy is like sits right next to you. You can feel it, and it's communicating really clear. But with those beings, it's like when you have someone coming to visit you, you feel their energy as being far, but it's coming. That's the energy difference. And so it's funny, the other Ashley that was on here, I said, ooh, they really like her, don't they? And she was saying, about being stoned and not being able to move. Well, it happens when I allow them to utilize my body. It doesn't mean they're owning my body. They're not in my body, but the energy is so strong. I can't explain it other than extremely powerful, that I've been able to come up with this process where I envision that I have the human form, and then there's energy all within it, like your brain, right? But then I step aside and I squeeze my energy over to the left. So I give them about 80% to allow their energy to come through. But when that happens, I'm stoned. I'm only breathing, cannot move at all except my lips. And then I end up channeling. And what ends up happening, it doesn't happen with every person that I'm teaching intuitive development with, but some advanced people. So when it first happened very strongly, this gentleman was very advanced, and he needed to learn how to go through several levels of our energy past the astral plane, because he was sending healing energy through telecommunication process, the company he was working for, but healing energy in a joy sense through the services of the company that he was working with. But he didn't know how to go through that. Now, let me step back, because I am so open. I can teach advanced people, even though I may not know it. I'm simply the messenger. So what was happening is, when he was working with me, he would ask a question, and then they would kind of say, hold on, I can feel them. And with him, they were so powerful. I'd step my energy aside. They'd provide the message of what he needed to do step by step. And then he was able to incorporate it and show the results through the company that he was working for and how it was working. So, go ahead.
I want to hear about NASA as well, because I know that.
God, you're like so fascinating. I feel like I'm at a TED Talk.
So that's the next one. Because I needed to have you understand each step. That was the next one. So when people are ready, they come to me. So I ended up having someone that wanted to learn a specific thing, and that was to communicate with them. And so here she is presenting herself, and I didn't really know her background, and voila, there she was, and really high up in there. And so how it really works is when, like for both of you, as I teach communication, I can start with the non-physical beings, maybe your grandmother or someone that recently passed, or someone passed long ago, a relative. So once you're already communicating with that, you will also be able to communicate with them. But I have to get you to feel grandma, grandpa first. Communicate clearly with them first. Then clear the limiting beliefs that you can't do it, because everyone's, I have to clear that you can. Then I explain what the feeling, how to bring it in. And most of the messages are about healing the planet, how the planet functions, and all of those things. So, James, as I was hearing you, they're, attracted to fault lines, and are attracted to energy of, military and stuff like that, because of their concern about our planet. And if we're destroying our planet, they're concerned. And they were talking about flares and, all these things that I learned, grid lines, which I learned through another healing modality, that there's grids on the body as long as grids on the earth. And it gets pretty elaborate as they explained through me how energy and the different levels of energy and what's past the astral plane and above, and how to bring it through. But once I teach all of that, then they're on their own to address it, because dealing directly with NASA deals directly with the health of our planet and the universe.
So I want to ask you about a quote. I don't know if you saw, I became obsessed with this documentary, Unacknowledged, that's about, all the kind of the cover up of all, and I forget the guy that put it all together, but what he had said is there is no proof of these other beings being hostile with us, but there's all this proof of us being hostile with them. And that ongoing saga of them really trying to be about healing, watching, seeing what we're up to, kind of protecting, and us being in a hostile manner with them. Do you have any input on that, or any thought pattern on that?
So from what I heard and what was channeled, that our planet happens to be very extremely important. And you're going to have different types of, just like when you have anger with different people in the world and their personalities, it's kind of out there as well. But the ones that really protect and hone in, and I focus on Syrian energy because they opened up to me through the girl. They helped give me on the job training. And then I find that it seems to be, as I say, seems because I feel it. It seems to be that same type of energy, is that they will call in others who want to protect us, help us. But again, it's all choice. They'll sit back and say, this is when I want to guide you. Similar to like when your family member passes, it's about choice and what we do. And they'll sit back, but they hope that we do the right thing. And sometimes they'll show. And there were many times that her name was Wendy, would channel and they would say they're going to present, and they wouldn't. Because depending on what was going on in the world and the fear that was developing in the world, and then they already knew that people would run around thinking their hair is on fire, thinking they see something, right? Yeah. And there is a lot of fear about that, but then they'll understand that the ones that really cherish our planet are positive and want us to succeed. There was a funny thing when I found out, with COVID, and I knew that it would heal the planet. And then I was channeling some of them, and I was talking to the NASA, one of them. And I said, I know, they said if we could wait 2 more months, if we could hang out and deal with COVID and not 2 more months, we will be even better. And she had already told me it's already been proven from the satellites that the Earth is healing. Things are much different. This ocean is different. Things are healing and different. So with negative, to James to answer that, yes, they're out there, but there's more positive ones who want to help us to succeed because we're a planet that is extremely vital.
Well, I definitely have felt nothing but peace, and I feel excitement about otherworldly beings. My concern is the way we present ourselves when we show ourselves in a hostile way. And I love that you brought that up, because one of the major things something that brought me peace and harmony, it's a strong word to say, when COVID was going on, is to witness our planet revert back to what it should be: clear oceans, animals coming out and feeling safer, the smog dissipating. So I love that you brought that up, because I think we get wrapped up in our human drama that we forget that our Earth needed that time to heal. So thank you for bringing that up again, because I've forgotten to really focus on that. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That's funny when you said the animals. I see more chipmunks and smaller ones that I've been living in my home for 7 years. And I see them every morning, these little chipmunks running around, and more deer. But they are embracing. Of course, there's less traffic, human traffic, or we're not as out there as much because we're in our house. But they are embracing the shift and the change. I don't even know if you smell the difference in the air.
Definitely.
I completely smell it and feel it. It's lighter. It's thinner. It reminds me of feminine energy.
Yes, you brought that all together, Terry. Yeah, Terry. Terry, real quick, I want people to. You have a couple of books. I'm not trying to hawk your books, but I think people, if they are really vibrate, because I started to look at. I got into this whole rabbit hole of UFO stuff right beforehand, and then I started to look at your stuff, and I was like, shit, this woman's so well put together. So you have a couple of books. Do you mind throwing the titles out there so anyone can look you up and hear more about this?
Thank you. You're so sweet. So my website has I've got a lot of things, but my book is The Secret Power of You, and again, I teach intuitive development, how to tune in, tone in, and trust all that, which is all of this as well. So help you get out of the monkey mind and trust all of that in there. And then I have an ebook. It's how to really let go of frustration, pain, hurt, and feel happiness again, because it really is truly in there. But I've been doing this for over 13 years. I've been on radio, TV. I've been all over the place. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I mean, if I can help one, I'd love to help the world. And it's just about to be open, free, trust. Trust this, which allows you to trust all of this, including all of them. Because we can connect, we can hear, and we can do.
Damn, I love that. I hope you'll come back, Terry, and hang out with us again. Like, thank you so much.
I would love that. I would love that. So please invite me. I'm super excited about doing this every time. Thank you.
So glad to meet you. Thank you, love.
It's
I
my
saw
pleasure.
that Jermaine had a question, but I don't think he asked the question.
I think he was asking if you could ask the question. So, Jermaine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Jermaine. We'll hang out for a moment and we'll see, Jermaine Jones, what your question is. Yeah, so maybe we'll like hang out for just a moment and we'll see if he asks his question. I am wondering, because I hear a lot of people saying, I feel it's coming in our lifetime. I feel it's coming in 10 years. I feel like it's coming a lot sooner than that. I am curious, like, what your feelings have been in terms of maybe just the disclosure piece of it, of government actually kind of stepping forward and being maybe more forward about what they know.
Yeah, personally, out of my experience, I think that'll be the last that will open up to it. We will see it, feel it, know it. You're saying, when will it happen? Well, you already had 2 people saying it is. There's millions of people that are seeing it and feeling it. You can go on YouTube that in the last 10 minutes that they're taking videos.
Yeah.
So they're already disclosing themselves. It's just a matter of, is it going to be more national, more universal, more formal? But
yeah,
personally, I feel like that we'll all say it before they do.
I feel like that certain beings will make themselves vividly clear on a larger platform, and afterwards our government will be like, we knew. We knew. We were protecting you guys. And I'll be like, well, at that point, I'll be like, just shut up, government. And I feel like at that point, those beings will decide to make contact with us. Does that sound more in alignment, Terry?
Well, it's funny because I said certain people will come to me that in my journey and as I was developing, and I ended up having this guy who was teaching the government how to remote scan and how to communicate again, and then using his mind as he remote scanned, and there are these devices that they could see your mind, put it on a screen, and they could see what was going on. So yes, they know. It's clear they know. But again, is everyone ready? Half the world wasn't ready for COVID and living in the fear, not believing, some believing. And then, and so you're going to have this huge chaotic mess if more of us don't accept and know that there's more than just us here, right?
She has such peaceful answers. Again, another person that I'm going to try to be a River/Terry hybrid.
Jermaine didn't ask his question yet, but that's okay. Yeah, I think actually I do think that our government has ships. That my concern is that I think that governments and military tactics have been known, and I saw this in a documentary, to kind of attack themselves for certain agendas. And that's the only thing that kind of concerns me, is the government trying to maybe make the population kind of get on board with some certain agendas that might not be on the up and up. And so I feel like if that happens, I want people to just really feel like to think twice about where that's coming from. And hopefully that doesn't happen. But I remember hearing that and feeling like, oh, shit. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Well, thank you so much. Jermaine didn't ask the question, and that's okay. Maybe he'll put it in the comments later. But thank you, Terry. I appreciate you. And I hope as well that you'll come back for
of course.
Spiritual.
Of course. Reach out. Thank you. Ta-ta for now.
Bye.
I love all of them.
I know, right? Amazing women. I will be curious, like, what thoughts will be turning in people's heads, like, after they watch this. I will say, if you want more, James can be a great resource as well for his favorite UFO documentaries. And I know that I am always on Gaia, really just seeking out the ancient aliens or any other types of topics. Or there's actually specific individuals that are known to channel, like Daryl Anka, who channels Bashar and has a lot of just great information. So if you guys are coming off of this episode and you're just like fiending for more, and any places that you would point them, James, before we wrap up?
Well, I get obsessed with certain like instances, and I want to research it as much as possible. I was learning about, I have it written here, about Hudson Valley, New York. There was over 5,000 sightings in a 5-year period, and again, that had to do with a power plant. And I think that's fascinating. I think that when we escalate into wars, that's when more sightings show up, because I think they are very concerned about our behavior and what we're up to. Again, I think again the USOs are fascinating to me. So that's one of the big kicks I'm on thinking about it. I mean, there so much of our ocean that is unknown to us? And not to get all conspiracy theory, but jellyfish. Look into jellyfish and what the hell jellyfish are. And so those kind of things, I just go down the rabbit hole with that kind of stuff in a joyful way. It's a rabbit hole of like, wow, that's fascinating. But I have so much to think about after those 3 amazing women came on. So like, I'm just kind of floored right now. So thank you for this experience.
So if you guys are watching us on Facebook, make sure that you're finding us on, well, I know we're on Spotify and probably about 5 other places. I'll have to look into why we haven't popped up on Apple Podcasts yet, but find us, follow us. We were talking about, I don't know what our like cutesy like title is. I don't want to even call it cutesy, but James is like the wordsmith that puts together the titles of our episode, but it's essentially about like the postpartum experience. And so we're going to have some real talk next week and bring in other women and really just talk about some things that might not be voiced. Because I do know, like, from my experience as well, there's that sense of like, you just have to like be grateful and feel like so happy all the time because you just had a beautiful baby. And if you have anything less than that, like, you're ungrateful. And it's like almost like women are feeling like uncomfortable, or people will say a lot of things. I hear it all the time at like the mom like workout stuff, like, well, if they're just healthy, that's all that matters, and totally like skipping over a woman's experience and really holding space for her and letting like the full range of emotions like be welcomed in. So that's next week.
Well, real quick on that note, sorry to interrupt you, but like, any of you women that have had that experience of after a child, like all those emotions that are really just glazed over, not only contact Ashley and myself on our Facebook page if you'd like to join into the conversation, but also invite men to listen to the conversation next week. Because even though I am a gay man and I ain't gonna impregnate someone that I know of right now, like, it was so important to me to learn from my best friend, from you, exactly what happens afterwards. And hopefully I gain more empathy. And that's really the intent of next week, is to really get men to have more empathy and understanding what the fuck a woman goes through when pregnant and after the baby. Like, we do just gloss over like, oh, you're so lucky, you have a healthy child. And a woman's going through a range of emotions. Her body's going through a range of things. So, grab your man, have them listen, have them learn. Because Ashley, this last experience, like, you educated and taught me so much, and I'm so thankful for that. So bring your men along. That's all.
Jermaine was asking a question about, I think it was for Terry. He was like trying to get like an aura, the color of his aura. I feel like, Jermaine, I don't know that we're doing that today. I want to thank you, Jermaine, actually, for asking questions. Terry has hopped off because we do want people asking questions and interacting. And I don't actually even know. Everyone has like their own spiritual gifts. So I'm not even sure if Terry reads auras. But I want you to come back to the roundtable, because we might actually have an aura conversation one day and bring people in that do exactly that. So keep following us. But anyway, let's wrap up, because you and I will just keep talking and talking and talking. So thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.